The animated history of Spain, the whole day thing, from the moment a person was alive in Spain to right now.
What do we learn about it in Spanish history in the U.S.? Just
When they started
the
exploring.
yeah, the exploration age. The whole dividing of the Americas,
Yeah.
and then
Not much else,
no,
really. Little mentions about like they weren't really involved in the World War II because they're having their own Civil War, Spanish flu.
we knew a little bit about the Civil War, but that might just be like very topic things. Like
It's
I remember,
like a mention.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like then maybe they'll mention like that the Muslims took over. And once again, it's a mention. Nothing too much into it.
The most you know about Spanish history has to do with the U.S. of when they explore and reach the U.S. and
Yeah.
stuff like that. What areas were under Spanish control before the U.S. was made?
The names that go with Spain are Magellan, King Philip, uh, Picasso in art class.
Yeah, yeah. You get some art and some art. Yeah,
That's about it. We don't learn much about Spain. It's mostly Italy.
yeah. So we're gonna get to see some animated history of Spain to learn some more. I'm sure you guys will have plenty more to add onto this video because it's only 9 minutes.
Do you think we're going to get any comments? Actually, this is a terrible video. It didn't tell you this specific event.
We need to watch a 5-hour long docu-series.
Apparently, we have to. Here we go.
Ah,
Wonder how
Spain,
early they'll start.
A land marred by the scars of its past. A land almost synonymous with empire, having been under the yoke of so many foreign rulers that even they began to lose count. A land whose very own empire would stand the test of time and dramatically change the course of Mesoamerican history, and yet somehow managed to avoid 2 world wars. All this and more in...
Why did they make Mustache Man look so cute?
Yeah, it did. Don't have to have any empathy for him, but my God.
Like if they gave Jeff a little mustache.
Yeah, dang Jeff, he's a cutie.
A third of the video is going to be this dang intro. Let's do it.
So, you probably heard that Spain was part of the Roman Empire, but before they arrived, the Iberian Peninsula already had several thriving civilizations, most of whom were thoroughly supplanted by Indo-European Celts, who had migrated south from France. Greeks and the Phoenicians had sailed these waters for centuries, setting up small trade cities and colonies. The Carthaginians, who were descendants of the Phoenicians themselves, set up a large trade empire between 650 and 300 BC, including parts of southern Spain, before coming into conflict with the Romans, who by the 3rd century were still a fledgling republic, just toying with the idea of conquering outside of Italy. This all changed with the Punic Wars, in which Rome came out on top with a slip victory over the Carthaginians' leader, Hannibal. The people of Roman Spain became thoroughly Romanized, a process accelerated by immigration from other parts of the empire. Roman law, religion, and the language became thoroughly entrenched into society and culture. Because, when in Rome, I guess.
Whenever.
Hispania fell to various Germanic and nomadic invaders in the 5th century, competing for land and dominance. The Suevi, Vandals, and Alans carved out short-lived kingdoms for themselves before being completely overrun by the Visigoths. In 587, the Visigoth king Recared was converted from an Arian Christian to a Roman Catholic, with the rest of his kingdom soon to follow. The Visigoths fought for power and control in the region with the Byzantines, remnants of the old Roman Empire in the east, and also got pushed out of most of southern Gaul by the Franks. But they did manage to consolidate their hold on the whole of Iberia, save for the Basque region, by the year 624. But Visigoth Spain was soon to be facing a new enemy 4,000 kilometers away in Medina, where from 622 the birth of Islam began to spread through the conquest of Muhammad and the Rashidun Caliphate. The empire was further expanded into previously Byzantine holdings in Africa with remarkable efficiency and speed.
What a crazy expansion. They just went right along this coast.
Yeah. Because I'm sure they could have gotten quite a bit more south, but there wasn't much to get down there.
A lot of desert.
Umayyad dynasty.
They even went down the dang Egyptian coast.
Yeah.
That's probably where all the fertile stuff was.
In 711, a Berber army crossed the Straits of Gibraltar and conquered the fractured Visigoths, slowly invading further north, halted only by their defeat by the Franks at the Battle of Tours and the Spaniards at the Battle of Covadonga. The Umayyad dynasty's collapse at the hands of the Abbasi allowed one Umayyad fugitive to claim the Spanish lands for himself, first as the Emirate and then the Caliphate of Cordoba, also called the Al-Andalus. It is around the 8 and 900s that a centuries-long process called the Reconquista began, in which Spanish Christians warred against the Muslims with the goal of driving them out of Spain. The Spaniards and the Portuguese saw the Muslims as outsiders, both in culture and religion, and very little integration happened between the two classes. The Reconquistas saw the Christian domains in the north increase in size and the southern Muslim kingdoms fracture into the Taifa state, until the Almohads...
And here's why we have the... That's how long ago Catalonia was around? Because I know there's an independence movement in Catalonia.
For 1,000 years?
Wow, I didn't realize it was that old. I guess it makes sense why they want to be their own thing.
Taifa state, until the Almohads united them again in the 12th century. The Almohads put what would be the last nail in Muslim Spain's coffin when they implemented a strict kill or convert decree throughout their domains, causing a mass exodus of Jews and Christians from Cordoba into the northern Christian kingdoms. A crusade was led against the Almohads from 1212 to 1250 by an alliance of Spanish kingdoms driving the Moors to a land known as the Granada. Castile and Aragon, two of the most powerful kingdoms in Hispaniola, united with the marriage of Ferdinand and Isabel to create the Kingdom of Spain, which also conquered the last remnant of Muslim Granada and the Basque Kingdom of Navarre.
Spain was
around the same time, an Italian sailor was bumping around.
Oh, look at this guy. He's ready to go on an adventure.
From country to country seeking sponsorship for a voyage to the East Indies. Finally, on meeting Isabel and Ferdinand, and after about 2 years of indecisiveness, King Ferdinand agreed to fund Columbus's voyage, in which he discovered the Americas. If by discovered you mean after Viking Leif Erikson and the people who already lived there. The Spanish Empire in the Americas would change the world forever, at first propelling Spain to superpower status. But as soon would become evident, the discovery of new lands and the building of an empire wasn't enough to occupy the minds of the Spanish crown, and so turned their attention to religious hegemony. First decreeing the expulsion of Jews and soon followed by the Muslims, the so-called convert or expel laws in Spain laid the foundations of the Spanish Inquisition. Because nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. This period of Spanish history is notoriously bloody, even by European standards. The Habsburgs had cemented their claim on Spain as soon as they could by marrying into the Spanish family. The Habsburgs ruled over large swaths of Europe in a concerted and somewhat neurotic attempt to keep inheritance within the family.
So interesting.
And they were notorious for their...
One family had so much power. I mean, it happens now for sure too, but dang.
You stick your toes everywhere.
Yeah.
High decree of inbreeding. Habsburg Spain was also a political failure, drowning in inflation from an influx of American raw materials. Constant warfare and piracy took its toll on the empire, which lost its early lead for dominance in Europe to France, Britain, and Russia. The Habsburgs lost their hold on Spain after the War of Spanish Succession, in which a French house, the House of Bourbon, took over the Spanish crown. During the Napoleonic Wars in the 19th century, the Spanish army found themselves ill-prepared, as they had funneled their entire war treasury into preparation for a naval engagement with Britain, its main economic rival. The Spanish army was so soundly defeated by Napoleon that in the end they amounted to nothing more than unorganized skirmishes and guerrilla warfare. Napoleon briefly had his brother crowned King of Spain, but with his defeat in 1813 the monarchy was restored, with rejection of the first Spanish constitution. This led to a turbulent time in Spain, with revolutions and counter-revolutions for the next half-century. In 1873, the monarchy was abolished and the First Spanish Republic founded. The Italian king they borrowed, famously abdicating while declaring the Spanish ungovernable. But with the Spanish-American War and the Cuban 10 Years' War, Spain became a shell of the empire it once was, losing all its holdings in America and the Philippines. With the outbreak of World War I, Spain declared neutrality and experienced an economic boom, stifled only by the Spanish flu and insurrections in Morocco. The instability and lack of centralized control would eventually lead to the Spanish Civil War, between competing factions of nationalists and Republicans who split the nation in two. The Civil War is a long and grueling topic that has such complex motives and ideologies, not unlike those happening in the rest of Europe in the 1900s. So complex, in fact, that it deserves its own video, which is why you should go to my friend over at Feature History who has made just that. Francisco Franco and his dictatorship, which presided over the Second World War.
It's just mentioned. We don't know much. I've heard of Franco, and that's about it.
It's pretty crazy that, like, I'm sure it's going very quickly through the history, but there are not many times of peace throughout Spain here.
No, definitely not. Europe was just kind of just like a war-torn area forever. I mean, like probably the whole world was because humans just love to kill each other.
Created what we now call nationalist Spain, an ideology not unlike fascist Italy and Nazi Germany, conceding, however, the official neutrality of Spain during the war. With his death in 1975, he decreed the restoration of the monarchy with full autocratic powers, but was marred in King Juan Carlos's decision to seek a constitutional monarchy for the kingdom. Spain joined the European Union in 1986, which helped stabilize the economy and industry in the new government. The boom in tourism and economic growth in Spain were unprecedented at one point, becoming Europe's fourth largest economy.
Oh.
This came to a grinding halt with the 2008 global recession, which saw a property bubble burst in Spain in particular, creating a devastating long-term economic hardship. Spain also currently has a few other issues on its plate, including a secessionist movement in Catalonia, a historically distinct culture region on the southeast, and the European migrant crisis beginning in 2015. But modern Spain is still a haven of tourism, with millions visiting each year, as well as an important political entity in Western Europe, working hard for industrial growth and slowly healing the wounds of its recent history.
Dang. Spain. Really interesting country with a really interesting
Thank you so much
history.
for watching, everyone. Firstly,
I'm
I
sure
want
there's
to
so much more we can learn because there's so many events that were just briefly mentioned.
It's a really quick history, yeah. I mean, that whole, like, time in history, I know a tiny bit about that. Like, when they broke up into all the different kingdoms and when the Muslims came, they, like, united to fight against the Muslims. That's so interesting. I mean, we hear so little about that in the U.S. It's
It'd be
crazy.
interesting to know more about that time period because, like, it didn't seem like they got along very well, but it was like they both coexisted for quite a while.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend situation.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, see these guys from the Middle East over here? Let's get them out of here.
Yeah, that's how are they united people.
Really, really cool history from Spain. Let us know if there's some other good videos we should check out about the history of Spain, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.